Good evening, listening audience. This is Baba Reggie Singleton. I'm honored to be here with you today. I want to give thanks and glory to God and in remembrance of our ancestors. Through them, it's knowing that all things are possible. I am so honored to be here today with the great Coach Atkins, to be here to speak with you on a very important subject. The subject has always been very pertinent, but given what is certainly been transferring and been going on in our communities and across the world, it's very imperative that we talk about manhood. So today's title and topic of discussion is 7 Seeds of Manhood. And I think before we even get into what those 7 seeds are, let's talk about what manhood is. So manhood is a process. It's not merely an event. It's not merely a moment, but it is a very calculated, strategic movement and mission in which a young man is placed on from the time of birth. And everything is to be considered to include his name, where he lives, the environment, the circumstances, and to ensure that he minimally is able to draw on some of the time-honored teachings and traditions from our past, where we have been able to demonstrate successful manhood. So it is not an event, but it is a process. And the beautiful thing about manhood, particularly African manhood, is that there are centuries of great examples where our ancestors took the time and left nothing to chance and wanted to ensure that all African boys, all Black boys, receive minimal training in terms of what their duties and what their obligations as men were to themselves, to their families, and to our people. The 7 seeds of manhood, and in no certain order, but and I do a great deal of agriculture as well, and it's amazing the various metaphors that agriculture and planting has with developing boys, of Black boys and children. And of course, people start with the seed, but we know that the soil is equally important as well. But the seed is basically, you need something to work with. And the seed is the genetic byproduct, the biological byproduct that we will use. And then you would place it in a soil which represents the culture, and a culture that is rich, a culture that has organic matter, a culture that has life in it. And so the 7 seeds Sorry about that audio technical difficulty there, but the 7 seeds, the first of the various characteristics that we're going to look at is the characteristic of discipline. Discipline comes from the root word disciple, which means to train and to develop within. Really, discipline most think of as punishment, but really discipline comes when the individual learns to control and manage themselves as opposed to being managed and controlled by the outside. So to the degree we can get young people to, in the midst of all of the forces that are coming after us, to be able to manage and to control ourselves. And the discipline in terms of what we eat, what we accept, what we consume in terms of what we take into our hearts, minds, ears, and belly. But discipline, again, is self-control, the ability to manage and control oneself. And as we're bringing young children along, we want to bring them from dependence to independence. But as you know, that's an incredibly long journey. So as we move them along, we want to be able to teach them and provide them with the skill set so that they can control themselves. Self-esteem, and we're talking about everyone has self-esteem. Some have high self-esteem, some have fairly low self-esteem. And much of this can be undergirded by the experiences, the life experiences, the traumatic experiences that people have had, or the great experiences that we have. One of the things we do with our manhood training at the Mills Place is that we create positive, healthy experiences where young men get to see Black men nurturing, Black men developing, engaged, and so they see countervailing images. So to the degree we could help to develop and provide good images that are countervailing, we get to be able to model positive images. It helps with the enhancement of the self-esteem of the person, but also the self-esteem of the group. So it's important that we not only feel good about ourselves, but we must also feel great about and do right by people who look like us as too. And so it's not enough to be just feel good about yourself, but you must feel good about those who serve your interests, your people as well. Humility comes from being humble, or humble, as I say, or as we say down in the low country of the Sea Islands of South Carolina. Humility comes from a confidence, a self-esteem, where it's not arrogant or bragging, but very confident. And it's a spirit in which one exudes of confidence, and it draws people to him. And so we must be able to walk in a level of humility and being grateful. And so humility is one of those great quality characteristics of a healthy manhood. Service is another. Service is the debt. It's been said, service is the debt that we owe and pay to society. I can't think of anything more important. Some define themselves by their degrees, the number of degrees, where they went to school, their financial worth or whatever. But to be able to not just give back, but to truly invest in your people. This is what a right-thinking individual does. It's not enough for you to be celebrated as an individual, but how do you serve the interests of your people, your community first? And then if there's anything left, then you serve others. But you would be a fool and out of your mind to serve outside people, outside ethnic groups, outside communities before you serve yourself. I believe in the philosophies and the order in which the most honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey said, which was, it is God, family, community, and people. So service is the debt that we owe to society, and I can't think of any more honorable way for a man to be judged by what he's willing to give unto others and not merely himself. Integrity is our fifth, and integrity speaks to you being ethical, you being moral. Not so much what is legal, but the spirit in which you operate in terms of what's decent, what's culturally, what's historically right and correct. It is even when others are lining up in the other lanes, it's you being able to live a life that's rooted in doing what's right, and not so much what the law says or what is. Of course, you want to be law-abiding and obey the laws, just laws. But integrity is, no matter what people say about you, they say your reputation is what people say about you, but your character and your integrity is something that can be unquestioned, and it really speaks to who you are. Respect is the sixth, and respect, I often think about the self-respect, group respect, can be tied in with the self-esteem, the second one that we talked about, but certainly respect. In order to respect other people, I think it's imperative that you respect yourself and know the duties that comes along with that respect. Service and everything else flows fundamentally from that concept of respect and appreciating the values, the traditions, your appearance, your features, your culture, and having a respect for yourself and for your culture and people. And the last would be sacrifice. The last of the 7. Of course, there are more, but we're going to just focus on these 7 today. And sacrifice speaks to your willingness to give up upon yourself, to give up your own personal selfish interests and needs for the betterment of a larger issue. And in this case, as humans, we tend to be selfish, but to be selfless does help with the sacrifice and willing to be able to give up upon your time, your resources, your money, so that we all could win. We all could stack some W's together, and we all could be successful as a people, where we as Black people will be self-determined. We will win together. And having said that, I believe that when we are able to inculcate in the seeds these 7 qualities of manhood and then implant them into a healthy organic soil, then to create the sunlight and the cultivation and the prayer, we can create not only healthy plants, but strong, healthy, upright, masculine Black men who know who they are and understand what their duties are. Having said this, I believe that our best days are yet ahead. Ashe, this is Reggie Singleton coming to you live from Charlotte. I want to thank Sister Coach Atkins for providing this platform, and those of you who are tuning in. Ashe, thank you very much, and good night.